Aha. Hello, we have Bridget. We have some very serious young conservationists here, I'm seeing. Angeli, hello?
Hello, hello, Penny.
Hello.
Hello.
Bridget, hello. I'm in South Africa near Pretoria at the Vulpro site today. So you'll see instead of face behind me, I'm doing some Vulpro publicity, which nicely coincides with Obert giving the talk from Vulpro this morning. I'm in their office, and Vulpro, Obert is in one of the enclosures with the vultures. So it's a little bit of a test this morning in that we hope his connections will hold up, but he was very keen to have everyone see some vultures rather than just the photographs. So when everyone's online, I'll be encouraging that after today's talk, you go to the Vulpro site because they do have a tour of the sanctuary area where they're keeping different birds. You can watch on YouTube, and they do have lots of splendid photographs on the website. So that's something that everyone can access afterwards. And we thought that today to actually have Obert out in the fresh air with the birds would be an interesting change for this last meeting. I think there might be a few people today who haven't been before because of my different visits in the last week or so. So I'll just run through the procedures. It might be particularly important today that people have their videos off during Obert's presentation because he is outside and it might challenge his internet. So it might not be necessary, but if it is, please, if we lose Obert or it becomes pixelated, please respond by turning your videos off and feel free to turn them on afterwards. If anybody has questions, put them in the chat during his talk or once the question and answer session has started. If during the question and answer session you want to raise your digital hand, and might well invite you to speak on screen and ask the question directly. If you could put your real names, if you're comfortable to, as your screen name, that helps us so we know who we're talking to. If anyone is uncomfortable having their name or their picture on social media or in our newsletters or used for publicity, ensure that you keep your screen and your name, your image and your name hidden, because we will be using screenshots for publicity. Anybody who can take pictures in the background of your groups participating or interesting screenshots, please share them with us. I think that's more or less everything. If you have trouble with connection, know that turning your videos off often helps. It uses up a lot of bandwidth. So I'm going to hand over to Dan Buckwell, who's the director of Tusk, to welcome everybody. Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Penny, and thank you to all of you for joining us again this morning. Once again, some many familiar faces. This is the final PACE webinar from the series of 6, and so thank you very much to all of you who've joined us for each and every one of them. For those of you, if there are one or two who haven't joined before, Tusk is a UK-based conservation charity that raises funds to support a variety of conservation projects across the continent of Africa. And as we've seen over the past 6 weeks, these funds help protect a variety of wildlife, from turtles to lemurs to painted dogs and so on. And today it gives me great pleasure to introduce Caroline and Obert from the vulture project, Vulpro, in South Africa, just outside Pretoria. We, as Tusk, while we protect all African wildlife, we don't have very many bird projects, so I'm particularly thrilled that we support this one and have been for a number of years, because as you will find out, vultures really need our help. As Penny said, there will be a question and answer session once again afterwards, so we look forward to hearing from all of you then. But for now, over to Obert and Caroline and the vultures. So hopefully we have Obert with the vultures now, if we can go to him. Here we are, great.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Obert. I'm the operations manager at Vulpro. Vulpro is a non-profit making organization established with Cape vultures at heart. Not only we rehabilitate Cape vultures, we've got also other 5 different vulture species. We've got the African whiteback, we've got the leopard-faced vultures, we've got the permanent vultures, and the wooded vultures. Vultures are important in our ecosystem. They help us reduce the number of diseases from animal to animal, animal to people. They also alert us if there's a dead animal around. You can see vultures flying around up the sky to see if there is a dead animal. They also clean up the environment by eating all the dead meat of a dead animal. And vultures face different threats, which makes them critically endangered. They face like poisoning. There are 2 types of poisoning: primary poisoning and secondary poisoning. In 2 weeks ago, there was a buffalo that was poisoned, and about 150 vultures died for traditional use, because of traditional belief. Some believe vultures see into the future because they see where there is a dead carcass in a long distance, and some believe they can pass examination by eating vulture meat, and some kill the vultures, thinking vultures stopping vultures from reporting when they are poaching them from the rhino horns and the elephant horns. Also, vulture face electrocution, which is caused by power line collision, and vultures also face power line collision where they hit the power line. We've got vultures that have got, most of our vultures at Vulpro have got a broken wing due to power line collisions. And at Vulpro, we use those vultures to we rehabilitate them. And if they are releasable, we release them into the wild. If they are not releasable, we use them for education, breeding, and research. At Vulpro, we've got more than 270 vultures. At Vulpro, we've got more than 270 vouchers. Most of them, 90% of them are non-releasable vouchers. And now it's breeding season. We have 18 chicks, 2 from African whitebacks, and 8 other 16 from the Cape vultures, of which if they start fledging, we'll release them into the wild again, try and restore the number of vultures that we have lost. And most of our captive bred babies, we put tracking devices, seeing how they survive in the wild, since they are captive bred chicks, and how to also keep on researching on the other risk using the tracking devices. Most of our vultures in our areas have one wing due to power line collisions. Like 90% of our vultures here in this area is mostly power line collisions. A vulture is hit by power line every day. And we have to amputate those wing. Even if it's got one wing, it still can be a benefit to us. Like, it benefits the environment by producing another offspring that we can release into the wild again. And we've got also the ones that some survived from poisoning. We managed to clean the system. Some we release, but some we can't release due to it affects their eyesight, affects their steps, it affects their flight. Yeah, and some of the vultures are non-releasable because of we've got like half-blind vultures at Vulpro that will hit the power line or hit by a car, and it affects their eyesight. And at Vulpro, we also do research outside in the fields. We monitor the vultures which are in their colonies. Whitebacks, they nest on trees. We do tree nesting surveys, and Cape vultures nest on colonies, mountains. We do mountain surveying, and we're still doing more research on their colonies in breeding, seeing if the breeding success is low or breeding success is getting high. Yeah. At Vulpro also, we also have a vulture restaurant where we feed the vultures from the closed colony. We feed more than 400 birds coming to feed at our site. And sometimes we get leopard-faced vultures coming to feed at our site. Not only vultures come, we also have like marapu stocks also coming to feed at the vulture restaurant. We've made our relationships with other landowners who donate food to us. Like, we also ask if the food has been treated with other antibiotics, which is not good for the vultures. We accept the dead animals which died naturally, because it's what the vultures are meant to do, like clean up, stop these diseases from spreading from animal to animal, animal to people. We also crush bones for our vultures for calcium. They need their calcium. In the wild, the hyenas and other predators will crush for them so that they can eat those pieces. We've seen vultures eating small stones and glasses if they don't find the similar size of a bone. They know that they need also calcium, and it's good for their eggshells. And breeding season starts from like May until like August. They lay one egg a year. They can relay another egg if the egg is broken. the egg takes about 54 to 56 days to fully hatch, and it takes about 4 to 5 months for the baby to leave the nest. And at Vulpro, we look for 3 twigs to give them, and they build their own nest. There are some that can't build their own nest. We have to interfere and build the nest for them. And some of the birds, we have to take out the eggs for the egg to survive. Even in the wild, the survival of an egg is 5%. It can break due to people climbing the mountains or aeroplanes flying on the trees. They get scared, or other predators. Which attacks the chick from the colonies. Yeah, we've got the artificial incubators where we put the egg, and we closely monitor it every day. We help and check if it's also fertile or not fertile. And there are some birds that we take away the eggs. We know that they have infertile eggs. And the other birds, we take out the fertile egg and put it into artificial incubator for the egg, for them to double clash the egg. They can relay another egg if the egg is taken away, and give those ones that infertile egg to raise the baby. And one thing, we're still learning a lot. I've worked for 15 years at Vulpro, but I'm still learning more with the vultures. And they are good parents. Both parents take responsibility in raising the baby for like 4 months until the baby starts fledging out of the nest. When they feed the baby, the vultures regurgitate on their baby. What they've eaten, they regurgitate for the baby to eat that food. And vultures, they can eat up to 20% of their body weight. If it weighs like 10 kilos, it can eat up to 2 kilograms of meat. And they use thermals to fly. I can't say they're lazy flyers, but they use thermals to fly around to their places or to where they're finding food. Yeah, at Vulpro also we do like education. We take tours. We do education, like teach the coming generation to know about these species, because we still need these species to be used for environment, and it is good for the upcoming generation to know about these birds. If there's no questions, I think that's mainly what we do at Vulpro. You can ask more questions. Thanks.
Great, thank you very much, Obert. It's fantastic. I'm just going to turn my video back on. It's fantastic to see you there within the vulture enclosure. I don't know, are you able to turn your camera around and just give us a little, see some of the birds themselves and talk us through what you can see there?
These are African white birds. They are non-releasable birds. They are critically endangered. We've got 2 chicks in this enclosure. One is on the nest, lying close to the nest. It's big now. And the other one is got its parents on the top corner there.
Fantastic. And is that some vultures outside, on the outside of enclosure? So they are
Yeah, those it's a new enclosure for birds with one wing.
Right.
It's an open enclosure. We make it an open top enclosure so that they can interact with the wild ones when they fly around. It's the birds that can't fly because they've been involved in power line collision.
Right.
They've got only one wing.
Right.
They're also African whitebacks.
Great. And do you mix the vultures within the enclosures? How do you decide which vulture goes in which enclosure?
We've got in different species. We put them in like their respective species, and vultures choose their partners. We like there's a captive Cape vulture breeding enclosure. We've got like 50 vultures there, and only we've got 18 pairs there. They choose their partners. You can't put a female and a male, expect them to breed there.
Right, great. And so, sorry, how many enclosures do you now have?
We've got 18 enclosures.
18, wow. Wow. Well, it's fantastic to be able to see them in the background while you're talking. We do have some questions coming through in the chat and a few comments as well. I think, yeah, some comments of saying, you know, didn't know that power lines were such a problem for vultures, and also no idea how big a problem they are in disease management. You know, I think that's one of the biggest reasons why we really need to protect vultures, is because they are the sort of the waste management system for the savannah. We have a question from Paloma, who is joining us from Zimbabwe. The question is, do you ever run out of dead animals to feed the vultures at the vulture restaurants? If this happens, what other options are there to feed the vultures?
At Vulpro, we've tried and made a lot of relationship with a lot of farmers, especially the piggery farms. The pigs have got a high mortality rate. So most of the pigs are donated to us with the help from farmers. We do get a low number sometimes, but we try and make a more relationship with other landowners so that we don't run out of food.
Great, great. There's a question from Mika. What, I think you mentioned some of them right at the start of your talk, but what are the different species of vulture found in southern Africa?
We've got, like a Vulpro, we've got the Cape vultures, we have the wooded vultures, we have the leopard-faced vultures, we've got the palm nut vulture, we've got the Cape vultures. The whitebacks are these ones which are close to me, and other species which we don't have is the bearded vulture, the Rupo vulture, and Egyptian vulture, which is extinct in Southern Africa now.
And are they all threatened? Can you give us a bit of information about you know, what their numbers are in the wild, how threatened each species is, and are they all in trouble?
Yeah, they are all, like the African whitebacks are critically endangered. Like, I'll give you an example. Like 2 weeks back, there was a buffalo which had been poisoned, for especially to harvest them, to kill them for multi-trade. And the Cape vultures face also same poisoning and power line collisions, similar to we lost another leopard-faced, which was in Eastern Cape with a power line collision. And yesterday we had to amputate another whiteback from a power line collision also. We've got less than 4,000 pairs in Southern Africa, and the number is still decreasing.
So yeah, I think that's what I've heard. If numbers are still decreasing, so and what can you do about the power lines to stop the collisions and electrocutions? And is there any progress there?
Yeah, we try and work with the power line company. In South Africa, it's called Eskom. We try and make them like mitigate the power lines and put those flippers. It's hard, like working to. There are some power lines that need to be maintained from them. Every time we get an incident, we report to it, trying to solve the problem so that we have less of the issues.
Good, great. Well, we have a question from Marius Bereni from Cameroon, which goes back to this issue of feeding the vultures. Have you ever tried other food items? And connected to that, can I just ask, do you have any palm nut vultures there? And presumably, you know, you're feeding them differently to the others if you do.
Yeah, we do feed them different types, like other landowners who donate game wildlife. The kudus, we have impalas. Sometimes we get cows from different farmers. We do feed them different food. And the palm nuts, we also get donations from some people, the palm nuts, and we do feed them also day-old chicks. They also eat meat. They are also scavengers.
Right. Okay. Interesting. We have another question from Paloma in Zimbabwe. Do keep the questions coming, and if you'd like to ask your question directly to Obert and also to Caroline, who's also on the call from Vulpro, then do raise your hand. But yes, we have a question from Paloma of, do the released birds do well in the wild?
Yeah, they do well. We keep track on them. There are some that have flown as far as Zambia, Botswana. We've got the whiteback, a captive whiteback, which is somewhere in Zambia.
Okay, great.
Yeah, Caroline would say something because she does research and of the tracking of those birds.
Okay, great. Yes, Caroline, over to you. Oh, there we are.
Yes, so the released birds do seem to do well once we release them back into the wild. We do see birds that travel quite long distances. We've had birds in the past cover, you know, a number of countries, you know, that's across Southern Africa. So, so at this point, we find that birds do quite well in the wild if we do release them. As far as possible, we do track them. It's not always possible with devices. You know, what's limited as to how many devices we have. But if we do have extra, we do release them with devices so that we understand how they integrating into the system. And it's something that we're working on a bit more. We're hoping to set up a study soon, having a look at released vultures and how they integrate back into wild populations. But at this point, they seem to do well once they are released. Track birds that we do follow, we do keep an eye on them. We track them daily to see how they're doing. And if we do notice that something's not right, we do send out ground truthing teams, you know, just to check on them and see if they maybe had a carcass or maybe something else has happened that we might need to rescue them again. But it is something that we keep an eye on.
Fantastic, great. So we have a question from Adamu Abubakar, which is one of the part of the question has been answered about the vulture species in Southern Africa, but the next question is what is the lifespan of vultures?
They can live up to 35 to 50 years. In the world, they can live up to 35 years. In the captivity, they can live up to 50 years.
Wow. Okay, so is that going to be a challenge for Vulpro over the years as you get more and more birds that can't be released?
Yeah, that's what we're trying. That's what we're trying to do. Like, yeah, we keep like breeding, and we want to keep breeding so we can try and restore the number into the wild again.
Okay, great.
Like we want to expand.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
So we have a question from again from Marius from Cameroon. Vultures lay 1 egg a year, not too good for proper propagation. Would vultures hatch the eggs of other big birds, or I don't know, Marius, should that be the other way around, whether other birds would incubate vulture eggs to try and increase the population? But I guess, are there any other options for increasing that birth rate from vultures to try and boost their population?
Yeah, like as we do double clash, we take when we normally have an early breeding season. Like our first breeding season starts from May, but at Vulpro, our first egg started in 9 April this year. Last year it was 7 April. So those who lay earlier, we take out the egg. We don't give them a dummy so that they can relay another one, trying to increase the number of chicks, because we know that there are some that will give us infertile eggs.
Right. Gosh. Okay. Yeah. Okay. A question from Naftali Donsam. Are all vultures social, and at what age would one term a vulture adult? And that's from Naftali at the Uganda Wildlife Education Centre.
Yeah, most vultures, like the whitebacks and the Cape vultures, are social. That's why if they die in a large amount. They most of them throughout the network, they follow each other, like going to eat, or the Cape vultures, you can see sometimes they nest close to each other.
Great. And then we've got a question from Realtech. I'm not sure which institution that's joining us from, but the question is it advisable to find vultures on dead dogs? I'm not sure if that means to feed vultures, but either way, yes. What dead animals could you feed to vultures?
I guess they eat any dead animals as long as not given any antibiotics or anything. They are there to clean what's dead, eat any dead meat. Like in India, they even eat humans. They used to put humans for, like, they call it Skype area.
Gosh, yes. And you mentioned about as long as they don't have antibiotics. Oh, hang on, I've just got a message. I've got a message from Wangi Main Camp Primary School. I don't know actually how, it's a few minutes ago, but I don't know if we've got any people in the waiting room. I'm not host, but if there are any people in the waiting room, if we can let them in. But yeah, let me just go back to this. Yes, what I was saying, yes, you mentioned about antibiotics, as long as they don't have antibiotics. And I wonder if you can tell us a little bit about the problem that vultures have suffered from the anti-inflammatory drug diclofenac that's been used in cattle. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it was found that like when they gave difluronic to their cattle in India, they lost about 90% of their vultures. And people, the disease started spreading from animal to animal. Even until now, the diseases are spreading from animal to animal to people, because they lost about 90% of their vultures due to difluronic medicine.
And has that now been banned in South Africa? Is that still a problem?
Yeah, it's banned. It's banned in most of the countries.
Yeah, good. Another question from Mika. Do they interact with other bird species in the wild? Is there competition with other birds of prey or scavengers?
You could see them eating like with the marapu stock eating around with them. I've seen them eating with crows, and I've seen them eating with sacred eyepiece. But most of the time they take over everything.
Right. So they push the other birds away rather than being pushed away themselves. And what about interactions with mammals? How are the other mammals?
I've seen them eating with the jackal also, but they'll be also fighting over a carcass.
Right. And so then another question from Realtech is, are vultures considered a keystone species?
Yes. Yes, they are considered as keystone species.
Yeah, I think, as you've said, they're very important. They play such an important role in cleaning up the carcasses from the savannah. In fact, I heard a story from India where, because of the decline in vultures from this drug diclofenac, that it meant that all of the carcasses on the in the national parks weren't being cleaned up, weren't being sort of eaten by the vultures, and therefore loads of feral dogs moved in, and the feral dog population increased, and with that came a big outbreak of rabies. So you lose the vultures as a keystone species, and it can have disastrous consequences for public health as well, with a big rabies outbreak. So we've got a few questions coming in now from Wangi Main Camp Primary School in Zimbabwe, a bit about the sort of the biology and size of vultures. We've got, they're asking, what is the height of a fully grown vulture? How many vultures can feed on an impala and in how many minutes? And which one of all the vultures is the largest, and what is its scientific name?
The largest vulture in Southern Africa is a leopard-faced vulture. It's got a wingspan of 2.8 meters. It's the first one to go and feed on a carcass when we don't have jackals or lions, because it's got a strong beak. Scientific name I have to check or log on to the website. We've got it. I've got to check. Can't remember it.
No problem at all.
Caroline might know it. Yeah.
But 2.8 meters is extraordinary. Yeah. That's much bigger than an adult's arm span, so much considerably bigger. Sorry, carry on, Obert.
Yeah, the Cape vultures weigh up to 12 kilograms. Whitebacks can weigh up to 7 kilograms.
Wow.
Their height, I think it's like less than 45 centimeters. So 45 or 45 plus centimeters.
Okay. Great. And also from Wangi Main Camp Primary School is, how do the vultures find the carcasses?
They've got a good eyesight when flying. They can see things from kilometers away from when they're flying. And they can see if it's moving or dead.
Wow. So they're constantly scanning. Another question from Wangi Main Camp is about the lifespan for vultures, which I think, unfortunately, Wangi Main Camp were unable to join earlier when Obert was saying how, I think, if I'm right in saying, they live for up to 45 years in the wild and longer in captivity, up to sort of 50 or more in captivity. Was that right, Obert, in terms of their lifespan?
Yeah, they can live up to 35, 50 in captivity. Yes.
Yeah. Related to the question about how vultures find the carcasses, Mika has just asked, can they smell? Can any bird smell? I've never thought about it.
With the African vultures, I don't think they smell. They use their eyesight, but I've heard that the New World vultures, like Andean condors or Turkey vulture, can smell.
Okay, I think in answer to your question, Mika, as a bird watcher myself, my understanding is that very few birds can smell. There is one bird in New Zealand, the kiwi, that's famous for being able to smell out the very tip of its beak, but no, very few birds are able to smell. It's not one of the senses that's developed in them. Let me just go back up into the chat, because I think there were some further up that we haven't had answered. Did you answer the question, Obert? Sorry if I missed it. Was how many vultures can feed on an impala and in how many minutes? That was from Wangi Main Camp Primary School.
A lot of vultures can feed on an impala according to their dominance, but it also we've seen like a big sow of a pig taking like 30 minutes to be finished by 150 vultures.
Wow. Gosh. Then a question from Bridget in Uganda, who wants to ask whether the communities around the areas with vultures benefit from them. How do they benefit?
It's like we do our educational talk and try and spread the word so that they can help with the declining number of vultures.
Right. And I think also the role that they play in sort of clearing up dead species makes a big difference, like the public health example that I mentioned. Penny has asked, other than humans, are there any predators of vultures?
It's only when they nest on trees. There are some like leopard who go and eat a vulture chick.
Okay.
Or black eagles attacking vulture chicks also.
Okay, interesting. Caroline has provided an answer to the question of the scientific name for the lappet-faced vulture, which is, I don't know if I can pronounce it, but it is Torgos tracheliotus. It's in the chat if you want to double check that. Great. Where have we got to in the questions? And like I say, do raise your hand as well if you'd like to come on screen and ask a question to Obert or Caroline directly. How many? This is a question from Wangi Main Camp Primary School. How many kilometers can vultures cover when flying? And also from there, why do vultures have long necks?
Vultures, we've seen them flying long distances using our tracking devices. We've had a vulture in 2017 that went into 9 different Southern African countries, and it came back in 2 years.
Wow.
And they've got long necks so that they can go inside a dead animal to eat everything which is inside also.
Wow. And so, well, and a slightly linked question to that, I think, is also from Wangi Main Camp Primary School, is the comment that vultures are bald. Is that an adaptation to the environment?
What? Sorry?
The question is the baldness of vultures an adaptation to the environment?
Yeah, it's an adaptation to the environment so that they can stay clean.
Yeah,
they can clean easily when after eating the dead carcass. Yeah,
great. And then just going back up in the chat a little bit. So another question from Railtech. I'm still not entirely sure where Railtech is. If you're able to let us know where you're joining us from, that would be great. So the question is, how can climate change affect vultures? And then also linked to this, can vultures feed on fellow vultures if they die? And do vultures have specific ecosystems where they live?
Yeah, I think Caroline will answer that. She's working on it also. She is doing it for a PhD.
Great.
Yes, yeah, thanks, Obert. So climate change, we definitely think has some sort of effect on vultures. As Obert mentioned, it is something that I'm looking at for my PhD studies. We're trying to have a look and see how climate might be affecting home ranges and the movement of vultures. We expect that, as temperatures increase, that their home range sizes are going to decrease. They're expending extra energy trying to get up, flying around, and that might mean that in the end, home ranges are shrinking. Maybe it's not helping with breeding, that they're not as successful with their breeding, and maybe that it changes the times that they breed. So those are all questions that we have that haven't actually properly been answered for the species in the past. There's 1 or 2 studies that have come out of Southern Africa previously on vultures and climate change. There was a study that had a look at Cape vultures and how their ranges are changing, as climates are changing, and what we can expect for the future. And that showed that we can probably expect those ranges to shrink somewhat and to move in a southerly direction. In Southern Africa, as being south of the equator, it's warmer towards our northern regions. So we're expecting that as temperatures rise, those sections might become too hot for vultures to live in, and their home ranges are going to start moving in a southerly direction. So that was a somewhat small study, and that's why we're trying to take it forward, with a further study on a different species, which is the whiteback vulture, which also range over a much larger area, or rather, more of Southern Africa and more over the whole African continent, as a Cape vulture is endemic to South Africa. Just the question on whether vultures feed on fellow vultures if they die. I'll leave that one to Obert. I'm not totally sure, but I think they might in the wild. At Vulpro, that doesn't really happen. And then if vultures live in a specific ecosystem where they live, these birds are living in different parts of the country, but mostly in sort of the savanna biomes and in the bushveld biomes. We get some birds that are ranging over some the desert biomes, but they're pretty common across the landscape. We see them throughout Southern Africa. So yeah, they don't necessarily identify with a specific ecosystem. They're just more common in sort of savanna and in bushveld areas. But Obert, you can maybe just comment on whether vultures feed on other vultures if the vultures are dead.
Not that I've seen them feed on other vultures when they're dead. I haven't seen them. So I don't think they feed on other vultures when they're dead.
Right. Okay, it was great to see them, how you've got the computer position now. It's great to see them flying over your shoulder. It's fantastic. So there's a linked to their diet then. Another question from Wangi Main Camp Primary School is, do vultures feed on grass or do they feed on meat only?
Vultures feed on meat only.
And Penny has asked, do vultures kill?
Vultures don't kill. They only eat dead stuff.
Great. And thank you, Railtech, for confirming that that under the name Railtech Bluetooth is actually the Uganda Wildlife Education Centre, UEC, from Uganda. Great. Okay. Let me just see further questions. This is also from Wangi Main Camp Primary School. At what age do vultures mature for them to lay eggs? Well, how old do they have to be before they can lay eggs?
We've seen it Vulpro. If they turn 7, that's when they start if they turn 5, sorry, that's when they start breeding.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So quite old. And what name is given to a group of vultures when feeding?
It's the name of the group vulture feeding is called a keki. Flying is a keki.
Right.
I have to check on that.
Flying in when they're in a group flying, as far as I know, it's a kittle, and when they're on the ground feeding on a carcass, I understand it to be called a wake.
Okay. Interesting. Good. Great. All right. Well, I think we've gone through most of the questions, but there's a question from Penny at the end here. What can ordinary people do to help vultures, and what can school clubs and young people do to help vultures?
Yeah, they can report if there's any incident of a vulture, share the message about the vultures, the importance of vultures to the other communities. If they see the ones that are taken, they can send us the tag number or take a photo, send us the picture of a tagged bird to us so that we can, it's also good for the data. And they can help also donate with the you need the medical staff for the vultures, and it's not only medical staff, we've got also even affected animals around they can donate, which is not treated with any antibiotics.
Okay, great. And I guess also knowing that that Vulpro do an awful lot of school trips and education work, just spreading the word, I guess, is something else that that people can do very importantly, and changing this image that people still have of vultures as this sort of I think vultures suffer from this image that they're a sort of a dirty bird and an evil bird, and so actually it's just spreading the word of how that's not the case, and how they're actually the cleaners of the savannah, and how important they are for us and the rest of the world. Just spreading that word is really important. Penny's asked, I think we'll take the very last few questions coming in now, and we've got a couple more coming in from Wangi Main Camp of how many eggs do vultures lay, and are vultures consumable? I don't know if that means what can we eat them. I don't know quite what that question is, but Penny has rightly asked, can we see some more birds before we finish? It's been fantastic actually having you join us from within the enclosures, and also to see the wild birds flying over your shoulder has been really wonderful. So it'd be great to see some more birds while you answer the final questions about how many eggs they lay, and are vultures consumable. There was also a linked question about where do vultures make their nest, and what is the size of the nest. I think you managed to show us one earlier even.
Yeah, they make different nests. I can show you the nest now. They are all different. This one is a big nest. You can see there's a chick there. And there's in the corner there's a small nest.
Fantastic. And they're made from twigs, yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Look at that, that's amazing. Fantastic, fantastic.
Yeah, I'm going to show you the artificial cliff we have at Vulpro also. Yeah, vultures are not consumable because they eat of things that have died of diseases. They help us with the spread of diseases. So I don't think they are consumable. We can't eat a vulture. And the other question was
how many eggs do they lay?
They lay one egg a year.
Yeah. Great. Okay. Well, I think that's all of the questions now. So that's been fantastic. That's a good note on which to bring today's webinar to a close. And thank you so much, Obert and Caroline, for sharing your knowledge with us, and Obert especially for showing us some of the birds in your care. That's been a really special thing, and what a great way to end this PACE webinar series. So yes, thank you again, Obert and Caroline, and thank you to everyone who's joined us today, and and also many of you who've joined each and every one of these webinars over the past 6 weeks. Caroline's put a YouTube link in the chat, which Caroline, do you want to just say what that's linking to?
Sure, yes. So this is just a link. It was for the International Vulture Awareness Day, which happened, which is on the first weekend of September every year. For our event last year, we posted a tour of our facilities. So if you'd like to have a little bit more, of the facilities, to see what they're about and what we've got at the facilities, please feel free to check it out there and to have a look through our YouTube channel as well. Brilliant.
Thank you, Caroline. And if you could put a little link to your I see some lappet face vultures there, aren't they? Fantastic. So these are the ones that Obert said have the biggest wingspan. Look at those, fantastic. And what's that up on the side there, trying to cling to the wire? Is that
it's a baby permanent vulture.
It's
a baby one. We had it last year.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, we're trying to release it also.
Brilliant. Fantastic.
Yeah, if we get permits and stuff, we'll release it in somewhere in KZN.
Excellent. Well,
Northern Africa, yeah.
Well, linked to that then, Obert, with the palm-nut vulture chick, what is the name given to a newly born baby, vulture baby? And is it just a chick, or is there another word for them?
I think it's chicks.
Yeah.
Hatchling. They call them hatchling.
Hatchling.
Yeah.
Great. And are there specific names for male or female vultures at all?
No.
No. Okay, great. Well, fantastic. Thank you so much. Oh, we've got one last question coming in from Mika, and then I think we'll wrap up there. But yeah, Mika has asked us, do you have any challenges with permits to release the vultures back into the wild?
Yes, we do. Yeah, we can give it to Caroline. Caroline can answer that because she works with the permits.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so we do occasionally run into trouble with releases, permits for releases, sorry. It's something that we have to be aware of at all times, that certain places are going to have issues with permits and whether they need us to be permitted and that kind of thing for releases. But for most of what we've got for our rehab in a lot of the places, we are actually set up to be fine with releasing as well as part of our rehab permits, but it is something we have to be aware of at all times.
Fantastic. Well, look at that. That's amazing. Thank you so much, Obert, for taking us right up close to one of the vultures before we leave. Brilliant. What a great note to finish on. Brilliant. Our final presenter for the PACE webinar series. Great. Okay. Well, thank you again, Obert and Caroline, and to everyone for joining. Penny, can I go to you now to just wrap up this PACE webinar series? And hi, can I see Kerry there over your shoulder? Hi, Kerry. Kerry's the founder of Vulpro, so great to see you too. Penny, can we go to you for final comments about the PACE webinar series and any follow-up?
Mute myself. Hi, yes, so thank you everybody, and particularly Obert, this has been wonderful, and that last shot was superb. Thanks everyone for logging in. Please, I'm echoing.
Yeah, I think Caroline's, yeah, that's great, yeah.
Please, if you have suggestions for next series of webinars or online events for PACE, would any of the children or your leaders or project organizers email us at PACE? One of our thoughts this morning was perhaps we could do more of these virtual visits to different sites. We've also thought about linking kids up, and that you have us tell you, we have you tell us about your clubs and what you were doing as children, so that different clubs around the continent link. Any other suggestions that you have, please share, and we'll do our best. Thank you very much. It's been a lovely series, and yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Okay, Dan.
Thank you, Penny. Thank you, Penny, for putting this series together. Yeah, thanks again to Obert and Caroline, and thanks to all of you once again for joining. As Penny has said, if you've got any sort of ideas, comments, feedback on the webinar series, then do let Penny know. Just email her at pace@tusk.org. And also, I mean, I think this webinar series has been really fantastic. We've had such incredible engagement from all those of you who've joined us across Africa. Fantastic questions. I've learned a great deal, and I hope that you have too. We will at Tusk look to put together, we, as you know, we've been recording the webinars, and we'd love to be able to just sort of let other people know about the webinar series and promote what it's done, and have more people join next year. So I think we'll put together a very short sort of selection of the clips from over the past 6 weeks into a little promotional video that we'll look to put out in the coming weeks. If anyone wants their name or image or any of that excluded from that, then please just let Penny know, so that we can be sure that we don't include a clip of you, and of course we'll send it around before we promote it more widely. But hopefully you'll be happy to be part of that. I mean, it will just be a short clip anyway, so you know, just a few minutes long, but we'll look to do that in the coming weeks. But yeah, on that note, thank you once again to everyone for joining. It's been a great PACE webinar series, and look forward to seeing you on the next one. Thanks very much, everyone. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.